Okay, Tammy, are you still there?
I am. Yep, I can see your chat. There you go.
Okay, welcome to today's webinar. Welcome to today's webinar. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for getting on. Apologize for the technical difficulties in getting everything set up. But I wanted to welcome you all to today's webinar. Today we're going to be discussing unlocking efficiency beyond time tracking in WorkMax. So as we jump in, I want to introduce myself. My name is Spencer Pope. I am a regional sales manager with WorkMax. WorkMax is a foundation software product that is focused specifically on capturing live field data and getting that data ultimately back into the office and back into the appropriate systems where you need that to go. That might be your accounting system or payroll system, so on and so forth. Here you'll see my contact details. I want to make sure that as you watch this webinar, you might have questions. Please enter those questions into the questions area here on the right side of your screen or the chat area. And as we get to the end of this webinar, I'll make sure that I answer those questions, at least as many of them as I can. Okay, thank you for jumping in. Again, WorkMax is all about capturing data from the field. Some of that data is surrounding time. So even though today we're going to talk about going beyond just time, I still want to address the fact that WorkMax is excellent at capturing time tracking, and we can do that in a number of different ways. And this is kind of the beginning of us going beyond just capturing the time for those specific employees. And we can capture that in real time, having employees clock in and out so that that data is more accurate and so that it comes back ultimately into the office and back into your appropriate systems in the most timely manner So you can do something about that. With WorkMax, you'll have real-time visibility as they clock in and out in the field, and that data will flow back into WorkMax. Even though that's the recommended and best practice way to capture data, we do have additional ways you can capture data in WorkMax. Even if you needed to do things like a crew clock in or after the fact timesheet, you can do those in WorkMax, even though we typically only recommend you do timesheets if you're capturing data around time for somebody that might be a foreman or a supervisor, where they're already salary based and you want to track that time for specific jobs or specific cost codes on those jobs as well. So jumping into some of those benefits about tracking time in real time with WorkMax is we do use advanced facial recognition with biometrics. So for a lot of organizations, this is really game changing in terms of them getting more accurate data. They want to make sure that the right person is on the job. Using biometrics with facial recognition will help you do things like avoid buddy punching. Buddy punching is something that's pretty common in the industry, where one employee might call his friend and say, "Hey, I'm running late. Can you punch me in?" And so he's on the clock even though he's not there on the job site. WorkMax with facial recognition will help eliminate that buddy punching, as well as ghost employees, where you might have time that's being tracked for employees that never even show up on the job. I've had organizations share with me that their foreman just got in maybe a habit, and they would say, "Hey, these 8 guys are on my crew." So I come to Friday and I say, "Who was here every day?" "Oh, just my 8 guys." Even though one of those guys missed a whole day because he was out sick, another one left early on Thursday for a doctor's appointment, so on and so forth. So we'll be able to make sure that that data is more accurate as you capture that data in real time by clocking in and out using advanced facial recognition. In addition to facial recognition, or actually, I just wanted to show this one additional screen to show you some of those benefits of facial recognition, some of those concerns that I get when I talk about using facial recognition with organizations is they're saying, "Hey, well, what if a guy grows a beard or he's wearing a hard hat or glasses or a mask or anything like that?" This is a photo that I took during COVID where everybody was being required to wear masks. You'll see that the facial recognition works just fine, even using something like a mask, where it's covering up half the face. In addition to facial recognition, WorkMax also has GPS and geofencing. So what that is that we will set a geofence around that job, which is typically set by the address of that job. Also, you do have the capability in WorkMax to set that geofence by using a longitude and latitude, or even by using a pin on a map. So it makes it really easy to be able to set that pin, and we'll typically automatically set that to a certain distance from that job site, but you can even customize that per individual job if you need to customize that. So with GPS, you'll know that your guys are in the right place, that they're on the job site, that nobody's saying, "Hey, they started working as soon as they rolled out of bed in the morning," but they're physically on the job site. And with facial recognition, you'll be able to know that the right guys are there. So stepping beyond time and jumping into resource optimization and project management. WorkMax takes resource optimization and project management to a new level as we are capturing data from the field. So I want to jump in to a piece of WorkMax, which is called WorkMax Insight. The WorkMax Insight allows us to pull into WorkMax things like budgets or estimates. And we are going to be able to enter on those budgets or estimates for specific labor hours, as well as production units or what's completed. That production unit can be anything from linear feet to square yards to per item or per piece. And as we capture that data in the field, we're able to then compare it to those specific estimates or budgets that we have put together. So there are several different ways to capture that data in the field. You can absolutely capture that production data on what is completed, either at a foreman or supervisor level, or even at an individual level if you want to track individual production. So with WorkMax Insight, we kind of compare this to a scoreboard, especially now that we're coming into March and basketball seems to be a big thing with March Madness. I always ask myself, well, how often are they looking up at the scoreboard to see how they're doing? How far are they behind? How many fouls do we have? What adjustments do we need to make sure that we have a really good chance to win this game? And that's what this WorkMax productivity dashboard is that scoreboard to say, hey, what did we budget for this? How many hours, how many units, how are we doing in real time? And the neat thing about this is it does allow you to make those adjustments on the fly. So instead of waiting 2 or 3 weeks to get reports to show you, hey, we didn't have enough guys on this job, with WorkMax, you can see that data same day or even next day to go back and say, hey, yesterday we didn't have enough guys on this job, and we're not even close to being able to finish this job on time and in budget. So we need to adjust our allocations and make sure our resources are in the right place. In addition to that, WorkMax does also allow you to manage things like assets and equipment, and do all of that in WorkMax if you're tracking where your equipment is, where it's allocated, if it's allocated to specific jobs or to specific employees. So that way you can know where your equipment is and make sure things aren't walking off the job sites or walking out of your warehouse. In addition to that, we'll be able to help you track things like usage. If you are tracking usage for job costing purposes, for tax purposes, or billing purposes, we can help you track that usage so that usage will flow from WorkMax and on the mobile device, ultimately back into the office and back into your appropriate accounting system. So you can bill for that appropriately. So you can manage all those assets it's the nice thing about WorkMax is it's all in the same mobile app for the guys in the field. So whether you're tracking time or you're having them track productivity or managing equipment and assets, they're all going to do that in the same mobile app inside of WorkMax. So it makes it really easy for them to know where to go in to be able to enter that information. And then for anybody back in the office, all that data will come back into the WorkMax system. So you'll just go to the WorkMax website and be able to see all of that data as it comes back in. Again, all in the same system, so you know where to go to find that data. I just want to touch briefly on the benefits of using task assignment and tracking. So this is commonly referred to, especially in accounting areas, as cost codes. Some others may refer to as activities. So in addition to tracking what specific jobs that employees may be working on, a lot of organizations want to take that to the next level and track specific labor activities or specific cost codes. So that allows them to do a number of things. A few benefits of that: allows you to standardize across jobs. You're going to have more accurate data as you capture that in all of really WorkMax productivity and looking at estimated versus actual. Where that's really supercharged is when you're tracking that data, not only specific to the job that someone may be working on, but also the specific activity, task, or labor cost code. And that way you can say, hey, this is what we estimated. This is what we're actually using in the field to those specific activities. It also is going to help you get more accurate estimates and adjust those as you move forward. easier to optimize where you're putting your guys, as you will be able to see, hey, it's taking these specific crews this long to do a certain task. A lot of organizations will be able to improve their profitability where they start seeing, hey, as I'm tracking this labor on specific cost codes, I can see based on my budget, we're not even making money when we do this activity, or our profit margin is really, really low. We've had organizations that work with WorkMax actually start either subbing out certain types of work or no longer even accepting that type of work at all because either the profitability was too low or they were even losing money on those specific cost codes. So we definitely recommend, as you move forward as an organization, that if you do not already track specific labor cost codes, that you at least start at a really high generic level to start splitting those up into big groups so you can get the benefits of tracking those cost codes. And tracking those is really easy inside of WorkMax. With most accounting systems, we actually link directly up to your accounting system, and we're able to pull those specific jobs and even those cost codes that you've identified that you want to work on those jobs directly from your accounting system into WorkMax, as well as, like I showed you, the productivity, looking at estimated versus actual. We're able to pull those budgets or estimates as well with the appropriate cost codes there. The last thing I really want to touch on is compliance. WorkMax really helps make compliance really easy for organizations. The compliance is something that every organization needs to worry about. That might be, are you in compliance with certain safety rules or laws? Are you in compliance with certain organizations that are going to require you, like OSHA? Or you might have specific labor laws that apply to you based on whatever country or whatever state in the United States you might be in. So a couple of things that really help is if you do need any sort of labor compliance, whether you need to verify at the end of the day that the appropriate things were done, like your employees took their appropriate breaks or your employees took the necessary lunch that they were supposed to take that day. It might be that they're wearing the appropriate PPE or anything like that. Really common question that organizations want asked at the end of the day as their guys are reporting what they did that day is, were you injured on the job today? And the beauty of WorkMax is that we have the ability not only to answer that question, or when they answer that question to capture that data, but we also have the ability to ask additional questions. So if they were to say, I was injured on the job today, we could launch a full injury report where they could then take photos and document that injury. If they were to say, hey, I didn't get my 30-minute lunch break today, we could ask for more details about why they didn't receive that 30-minute lunch break and have them then submit why they didn't get their lunch break. As soon as that is submitted, it can be automatically emailed to the appropriate people. So right away, you get that notification piece in there. So you might need HR or operations or both to be notified when something specific happens, and it can be sent to the appropriate people so they can then follow your policies and make the appropriate actions when they get notified of what happened in the field. With WorkMax, as we are clocking in and out in real time to capture time data, we can require these specific pieces of compliance be answers at the end of the day with the required WorkMax clock out form. You may have specific examples or specific needs. I'm happy to go over those specific needs with you. I'm open to doing specific demos for your organization if you do have things you want to go further into depth on to understand, hey, how can you help me with my specific compliance needs? It's fairly common for all organizations across the board, especially in construction and field work, to need to do safety meetings or toolbox talks. You can easily do those in WorkMax and even have each employee sign off that they were there and that they listened and reviewed that information. We do provide you, as part of the WorkMax Forms library, with over 50 different toolbox talks that come as part of that library. So we want to make that really easy for you to complete those in the field and get those submitted all electronically so that you are in compliance with those needs. Okay, I want to make sure that I answer any questions you might have that I may not have addressed. This was intended to be a fairly quick webinar just to show you at a very high level some of those things that you can do with WorkMax. If you'd like to drill down into any more specifics, please reach out to me or anybody here on our team, and we'll schedule a specific and detailed demo where we'll talk about your specific needs and everything that you might need as an organization. At this time, I'm open to taking any questions that you might have about anything that we may have discussed or any of the different things that WorkMax can do for you. Okay, quick question here about, hey, can we see how it works on the mobile device? Yep, let me stop my sharing here. And I'm going to share my mobile device here. So here we have WorkMax on my mobile device. WorkMax works on both cell phones and tablets, whether they're Apple or Android devices. So each employee will receive a PIN code, and that will do a couple of things. First, it will be double verification that they're the correct person using the system. And second, it's going to allow them to jump between devices. So one of the neat things about WorkMax is you can use it as a device in everybody's hands, or you could set it up as a kiosk that's mounted on the wall of a job trailer, a shop, or an office. Or you could even have it as a device in the foreman's hands where each of his crew members, they all access WorkMax on the foreman's device. So here, I'm going to put a PIN code. This is for Jorge Nunez. You'll see his name and his photo for facial recognition at the top. As I select clock in, you'll see here it's actually going to take my photo for facial recognition in the upper left-hand corner. I am able to select the jobs that I have the permissions to use. You'll notice here that he has access to roughly 12 jobs, even though there are hundreds of jobs available in my system. You'll also notice that these are sorted by GPS location. So the very top job up here, Lionsden Storage, is actually that one which is closest to me. I'll select that one. And then here we can see the power of specific labor cost codes. I can select the specific labor cost codes I have assigned to this job. In this case, we've pulled this over from your accounting system. So it's only allowing them to see those cost codes that apply to that specific job. I'll select the applicable cost code and hit confirm to complete that clock in. Clocking in is really easy in WorkMax. Switching between jobs and tasks is also really easy in WorkMax. They would just go through that same process and clock in again. They don't have to clock out as they're moving between jobs or tasks. And then I'll show you really quickly that process of clocking out at the end of the day, where I can make sure that I'm in compliance with whatever needs I may specifically have. As I hit the clock out here for Jorge, you'll see that I do have a basic clock out form that I'm not in California here, so I'm not asking specific questions like, did you take your specific breaks or take your specific lunch? Even though these are all customizable and you could do that, here I'm actually asking, did you take your required breaks? And then were you injured on the job today? In this case, I'm going to say yes, so you'll see the power of me asking that question. As soon as I hit save, you'll see that it launched a full injury report. And doing that, I can do any of the things you can do on the WorkMax forms. That might be take photos, answer multiple choice questions, even using talk to text, I can describe what happened. And then I can answer yes or no questions and capture one or even multiple levels of signature. As part of that process, as soon as I hit save and complete this clock out, that injury report form will automatically be emailed to the appropriate people. So they're right away, they're notified, hey, Jorge's reporting he was injured on the job today. And I'll just point out here, I do have an optional time review where Jorge could sign off on his time in real time. Okay, any other questions I can answer before we wrap up? Okay, thank you again all for jumping on. If you have questions going forward, please reach out to me. My direct email is spencer.pope@workmax.com, or you may reach me on my direct phone line, which is 801-948-0519. Thanks again for jumping on this webinar, and all of you, please have a fantastic day.